Foo Fighters, but here we are, album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this latest album from Foo Fighters, Seattle-based alternative rock legends. These guys are absolute icons and probably one of the most successful alternative rock bands of all time. And they are, I mean, to be quite frank, just a band that my thoughts have usually been pretty low on. I've never really considered myself much of a fan of Foo Fighters. Now, I will say this. In the last couple of years, I've actually really come around to their self-titled debut from the mid-90s. I still think it's a very solid recording in their discography, but, I mean, ever since, it's been tough for me with Foo Fighters. I've been very, I've always been enamored with a lot of their singles over the years, but as far as albums go, I've never been really that crazy about what they're doing. I mean, the color and the shape, I mean, I thought this thing was just not for me, but hey, sure, I mean, I like Everlong. A lot of people like Everlong. Monkey Wrench is crap, though. Sorry. I've never been into There's Nothing Left to Lose, or One by One, but if Learn to Fly, or if Times Like These come on, I'm not skipping it. They're totally fine tracks. I've always kind of made the joke that the one band whose greatest hits album in the singles collections that I would enjoy the most is probably, Foo Fighters would be up there. I've just never been into their albums as a whole, at least for the most part. And as the 2000s rolled on, I think things just got even worse. I mean, In Your Honor, when this thing came out, I was like 13. I hated the album then, and I swear I think I hate it even more now. And Echo's Silence, Patience, and Grace, it's not for me. Now, with Wasting Light, I did think that they were turning a corner, because at the time, I was shocked. I gave this album a very good review. I still think it's one of their better albums overall. The singles still go hard, and as a whole, I think it's one of their, most consistent records. Just a great sound. I thought they were going to be really turning a corner. And then the Sonic Highways project came out. God, it's not good. And I still stand by my thoughts. Concrete and Gold may just be their worst album. And the last time we heard from them with Medicine at Midnight, I mean, I shrugged at the album. It's not the worst thing they've done. Certainly not the best thing they've done. It's okay. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't go into a lot of the backstory that led up to this album. This is a very different Foo Fighters album. This is their first recording without longtime drummer Taylor Hawkins, which honestly, it hit me harder than I thought that it would, because the one saving grace that I've always had with a lot of Foo Fighters tracks is I thought that Taylor was probably the best part of the band. I thought that as far as his drumming goes, it's always been underrated, and I was actually pretty shook when he passed away, and it hurt. And on top of that, if that wasn't enough, Dave's mother passed away recently as well. So clearly leading up to this album, there is certainly some more emotions at hand. And coming down the pipe, I didn't know if I was going to review this album or not. I really didn't. But I gave credit where it was due, because as they were dropping the singles leading up to this album, I was actually pretty impressed with what they've done. And you know what? I give credit where it's due. I've not been a fan of Foo Fighters. I've never been a fan of Foo Fighters. But this just very well may be their best record. This album starts off with Rescued, and not for nothing, this is a hell of a call to action. All around, this just grabs me. This is a track that just grabs you and doesn't let go. All around, the performances, they are thrilling. And lyrically, I mean, I kind of had a feeling it was coming from a mile away, but this is jam-packed with purpose. I don't think I can remember the last time I heard Dave singing with so much purpose. I mean, you could chalk it up to a lot of different things, but I feel like this is one of the best and most compelling singles that they've dropped in some time. And as far as modern alternative rock goes, there is absolutely nothing wrong with this track. It's great. Under You, on the other hand, takes things back to their sort of grungy roots. It's upbeat, it's energetic, it's got that passion, and the songwriting is just tugging at so many heartstrings, which I had a feeling it would, but this actually exceeds all my expectations. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, 2 tracks in, and I haven't wanted to skip or pause or come back to anything later because I just wasn't feeling it, and that alone for me is a victory. It's visual, it's got heart, and Foo Fighters to hear on this track just seem like they have really just got like a second wind of energy in their career. This track has so much purpose. It's also really well produced. I've got no complaints. And the title track, But Here We Are, this track has a little grit to it, especially in that riff. It's, it's got some teeth to it. And the sheer amount of focus all around. I mean, it's really, my hat is off to it, because I have not heard Foo Fighters just laser focused in so long. And it continues to just have so many rewards. I mean, that chorus alone is absolutely gigantic. They are laying everything on the table. And once again, for modern alternative rock, this has a sense of emotion that I'm just not used to hearing, especially not on the sort of mainstream level. I'm very happy with this. I mean, I do have a couple of nitpicks, and that's just me. Hearing voices is one of them. This track, for me, it's tough because it is a real step back, and it's not due to Dave Grohl at all. As a matter of fact, his performance is incredibly passionate. I mean, just about every performance of his on this album is incredibly heartfelt, too. I'm just kind of shocked at the songwriting. I mean, yes, it's certainly still emotional, but this track, it's loaded with cliches, and I'm just not feeling that. And if you love this track, I'm glad, but for me, I feel like there are so many other tracks on this album that explore the themes of loss and tragedy so much better. I have a lot of the same feelings on The Glass. I mean, let's be real, this entire album is pretty damn emotional. It's very raw. I mean, it's really raw. But then you hear a track like this, and I feel like there's like a bunch of other tracks on this album that just do it so much better. This tear-soaked ballad is certainly emotional and heartfelt. Once again, nothing wrong with that. Their hearts are in the right place, but why are there so many cliches? Once again, if you like it, I am so happy, because I wish I could like this track. It's just the kind of track that I was worried that we'd get more of here. I'm just not feeling. I think that there are just so many better uses of this sound on this album. And I wish I could get behind Beyond Me. And it's the same issues once again. We are dealing with incredibly raw, personal, emotional performances. And lyrically, this is actually one of the more revealing tracks on the album, but Dave's vocal performance, it's easily his most limp work on this album, and this instrumental doesn't progress at all. But that's really all the bad I have to say, which completely shocked me. And the rest of this album, honestly, not only do the Foo Fighters put out really great material, they take more sonic risks than I feel like they have in their entire career, and almost all of them pay off. Credit where it's due, Nothing at All is a great sort of rugged, bluesy, stripped down jam. I mean, this track isn't anything fancy, but Dave's incredibly visual, raw performance, once again, is absolutely immaculate. And by the time this chorus rolls around, which gets very, very heavy, I'm nothing short of impressed. The freakouts we get here are just so compelling, and it's all a build up to this chorus, which is just so great. I'm really impressed. And Show Me How, this track is easily my favorite on the entire album. I love the dreamy, hazy production that we get here. It's practically, in a weird way, got some almost shoegaze influence. It's got the gnarly riff, it's got the hard-to-place atmosphere. And Dave's daughter, Violet, on this hook, she stands her own, she sounds right at home, her harmonies are beautiful. This, to me, is the kind of exciting track I want to hear from Foo Fighters, because this is a big risk. This is a huge risk, and they nail it. It's my favorite track here. And The Teacher, wow, seeing this track come down the pipe literally gave me the shivers. We're talking about an over 10-minute long track from Foo Fighters in 2023. That has all the grounds to be scary. And jokingly, I heard Dave Grohl say that this was the Foo Fighters' progressive rock album, but they absolutely nail this track. This is an absolute triumph. The first couple of minutes is very meditative, almost hypnotic. It's really easy to escape into, and when that riff comes crashing in, it's exciting. Every crashing breakdown, the intense drums, the repeated use of Who's at the Door. Now, this is actually a real journey. And halfway through this track, it shifts. It is much more intense. It is much more driven. The dreamy licks, the risks they take here, not only am I impressed, yeah, this genuinely is borderline progressive. And as a finale, Rest, as a stripped down ballad, they absolutely knock it out of the park. Like, I listened back to some of the earlier ballads, the softer tunes, and then I hear Rest, and it's 1,000 times better. It's so bluesy, it's so broken down. Dave sounds like he's gonna burst into tears at any moment, and it's not the flashiest moment as a whole. But I dare you to sit through this track without at least having to wipe those tears away a little. Get your tissues ready. And that final scuzzy rip that comes in, God, this is just such a great finale. So, yes, is this album perfect? No. I mean, I certainly have my issues with it. I figured that I would leading into this album. But the story here is, not only have Dave and company come back from dealing with a lot of loss, a lot of tragedy recently, but they've been able to really come back, make an emotionally driven album that not only touches down on things that need to be touched down emotionally, but as a band really have taken an immense amount of risks here, and so many of them pay off. I mean, I'm impressed. I thought I was just not gonna like this album. The track record with me and Foo Fighters has shown it, but this may very well be their best album, or easily a contender for it. I'm feeling a very decent 7 on this album, which for me is pretty huge. But let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.